Hi everyone, it's Tara with Secret Bee Studio, and I'm here today to show you how to make this multi-sectional folded folio. I made one a while back, a travel folio made with the Simple Stories Simple Vintage Traveler collection, and I got so many requests for tutorials that I decided to make another one. This one is made with the Simple Stories Simple Vintage Botanical paper collection, which is absolutely stunning. There are so many gorgeous images in this collection that it will make any project more beautiful. I'm going to do a walkthrough of this folio first, and then I will show you how I created the outside section along with the inside section. You can see the gorgeous cover here, which has been embellished with a 3x4 card from the journaling pages of the collection, along with some bits and pieces and stickers. And I've just added a couple little charms. Once we open this up, we'll go to the left side here, and I just did a simple picture or journal area, and there's a hidden pocket on the side, which has a little pull out. You can add another photo too. On the right side is a full-length pocket that shows more of that stunning paper collection, and inside is another pull-out where you can add more photos or journaling, and this has all been decorated with stickers and bits and pieces from the collection. Then we open up that first section and we get to this V-shaped pocket that holds this big tag that has even more spots for photos or journaling. I have again embellished this with stickers and bits and pieces from this beautiful paper collection. At the top of the center section is one of my favorite pages in the folio. It has this double photo flip, one on top and one on bottom, of varying lengths, and they have all been decorated with stickers from the collection. The center section opens up to reveal even more gorgeous pages and pockets. The left-hand page is a beautiful area for a photo, showcasing one of the gorgeous layered frames of the collection. This one on the right-hand side holds a decorative card that you can add journaling to on both sides. And then I created out of 3x4 cards this sweet little seed packet topped with some of the flowers from the bits and pieces, and it holds a beautiful journaling card as well. At the very center of this section is a Simple Stories Instapocket page that can hold even more of your favorite photos, and behind this is a hidden pocket that holds a beautiful card. There is still more to see in this folio. You can fold the center section back up and fold it open to reveal another page of the folio. On the left-hand side, we have another fabulous layered frame from the collection, and in the center, there is a small notebook that I made to fit inside this beautiful pocket. And it has a ton of pages for journaling or even more pictures. Once you're finished looking at the inside, you can fold it all back up, and the whole folio ties closed with some pretty ribbon. So get ready for some fun crafting ahead as I show you how to create all of the sections and amazing pockets of this beautiful folio. As I said before, I'm going to be using this stunningly beautiful Simple Stories Simple Vintage Botanicals collection along with the coordinating Simple Basics kit that has all of the matching papers. I'm also going to be using all of the stickers of the collection, the chipboard and the bits and pieces, along with those fabulous layered frames. Plus, we will be using one sheet of the Instapocket pages. We will be making the outside cover of the folio first, and for this, I used two different patterns of 12x12 paper. The first paper will be the left front cover of the folio. Decide on the orientation of the cover, and since a small portion will show in the back, make sure the pattern is not upside down, and then cut this piece to 8 inches in width and 7 3/4 inches in length. For the right front cover, use the second 12x12 pattern paper, and again, make sure all of your patterns will be right side up, and then cut this piece to 7.5 inches in width and 7 3/4 inches in length. I want this pretty butterfly to show on the back of my folio, so before cutting my final length, I cut off the top of this paper and then cut again to 7 3/4 inches in length. I choose to round all of the outside corners of my folio, and I do this with a 1/4 inch corner chomper. Make sure you have the correct corners of both the left and right sides, and then round them. We will be cutting most of the rest of the pieces for this outside cover first, so if it helps, mark your pieces with a Post-it note for easy reference. Set these front cover pieces aside. The next piece we will cut is for the left front cover on the outside. I am using a solid piece of paper, but you can use patterned paper as well. Cut this piece of paper to 7 3/4 inch by 3 1/4 inch. Next is the piece for the V pocket, and we need the solid piece cut to 4 7/8 inches wide by 4 3/4 inches in length. Cut a coordinating piece of patterned paper for the top of this pocket to 4 1/4 inches wide by 4 3/8 inches in length. Set those aside. The next piece is for the back center pocket, and it needs to be cut to 5 1/2 inches wide by 3 3/4 inches in length. For the right side full-length inside pocket, we will need 2 pieces of paper cut. The first is a solid piece cut to 4 1/2 inches wide by 8 1/4 inches in length. The second piece, which will be the top of the pocket, will be cut to 4 1/8 inches wide by 7 5/8 inches in length. Since this is a paper that will be showing on that pocket, I suggest it be very decorative. Next, we need a piece of pattern paper for our notebook in the back of the folio. Both the front and back sides will be showing, so pick your pattern paper accordingly. Cut this piece to 9 inches wide by 6 1/4 inches in length. We will be scoring this in half later. The final piece we will cut before assembling is the tag, and mine is cut from solid colored paper to 4 1/4 inches in width by 7 inches in length. We will add the top papers to this in another step. Before we put the left and right front covers together, we need to score the different sections. Total together, the outside cover will be 14 1/4 inches in width. There will be a 1 1/4 inch overlap of the 2 pieces at the center in the back. Starting with the left front piece, which has the dimensions of 8 inches in width by 7 3/4 inches in length, flip the paper to the inside or the back and place the 8-inch side at the top of the scoreboard. Score at 4 1/2 inches. Take the right front cover piece, which has the dimensions of 7 1/2 inches wide by 7 3/4 inches in length, and place the 7 1/2 inch side at the top of the scoreboard, this time with the front facing out, and score at 4 1/4 inches. Using a ruler, take the left front cover and flip it over to the inside, and place the top inside or right edge to the 1 1/4 inch mark on the ruler, making sure the top is straight. Then take the right front cover piece and flip it over and place the top inside or left edge to the beginning mark or edge of the ruler. I place my pattern papers so the butterfly portion will be on top with a 1 1/4 inch overlap. Apply adhesive to the top of the back page and the back of the front page and adhere together using your ruler as a guide. Then go ahead and fold at your score marks. Next, we need to make holes for eyelets to close the folio. On the left front cover, use your ruler to make a pencil mark at 4 1/4 inches down from the top and approximately 3/4 inches in. Once you have the first mark down from the top, you can use your ruler to check that it is about 3/4 inches in. Do the same thing for the right front cover. Put your ruler even with the mark on the left and make a second pencil mark approximately 3/8 of an inch from the outside edge of the right cover. The most important thing here is that your marks are even. I use a Crop-A-Dial to punch a small hole on the right cover, and since my Crop-A-Dial isn't large enough to punch a hole in the left cover, I use a scoring stylus or scissors to make the hole. I place mini eyelets into the holes and use my Crop-A-Dial to flatten the eyelet on the right cover. And for the left cover, I place the back side of the eyelet up on a firm surface and use a small household hammer to flatten it. A large Crop-A-Dial would be so much easier, but a hammer works just fine. Now we will be adhering the center back pocket of the folio. This pocket is made from the piece of paper that was cut to 5 1/2 inches in width by 3 3/4 inches in length. This pocket will be 1/4 inch from both front cover score lines. It will be 5 inches in width, so I use a ruler and place the edge or beginning mark at the left-hand score line and make a pencil mark at 1/4 inch in on the left side and 5 1/4 inches on the right side. This will just make adhering the center pocket easier. You can always go back and erase any marks that remain. Take the piece of paper for the center pocket and place the long side at the top of the scoreboard. We will make a 1/4 inch score mark on both ends and then rotate the paper clockwise and score 1/4 inch at the left side or bottom of that piece. Fold the score lines, then trim off the bottom corners so that they do not overlap once they are folded under and adhered. I use 1/4 inch score tape and apply it to the outside edges of the paper. Trim any excess and then use a bone folder to press down or burnish the score tape. This will make it so much easier to remove the backing. Then adhere the center pocket to the area where the pencil marks were made. Now I'm stopping the video because at this point I should be threading my ribbon through the eyelets to close the folio. You will notice that I totally skip this part and go on to apply both inside pockets. This is a small mistake and I will address it later in the video. Take the time now to pick ribbon or twine for your closure. You will need 2 pieces and then thread it from the outside of the folio in through the eyelets and secure it with either knots or adhesive. This will be covered by paper and you won't see them. For the left front cover, we need the piece of paper that was cut to 3 1/4 inches wide by 7 3/4 inches in length. Use a 1/4 inch corner rounder and round the top corner only to match the cover. Then place the paper on the scoreboard with the long side at the top. Score at 1/4 inch on the end where the corner is not rounded. Once that is scored, fold at the score line and then round the bottom corner. Only the bottom portion of this piece will be a pocket, and we will be putting adhesive at the bottom and side and on a large part at the top. Flip the paper over and using a ruler, place the 4 3/8 inch mark at the bottom, even with the score line, and make a pencil mark on both sides. Then, keeping your ruler straight across, join both marks. The top smaller area, which should be 3 1/8 of an inch, will be where the adhesive is applied. I use 1/4 inch score tape for the bottom score mark and the right side. I use larger 2 inch score tape for the top area and just cut it to size. Use a bone folder to burnish the score tape before removing the protective covering and then adhere the paper in place with approximately 1/8 inch margin from the edge of the cover. This will leave us with a pocket that is 3 inches wide by 4 3/8 inches in length. Now for a card for this pocket, cut a piece of solid paper to 3 inches wide by 4 1/8 inch in length. This fits into the pocket perfectly. We will be adding decorative paper to both sides of this card along with a tab to pull it out with a little bit later in the video. Moving on to the inside of the left cover. This is where our V pocket and tag will be. Take the piece of paper that was cut to 4 7/8 inches wide by 4 3/4 inches tall. Place the 4 7/8 inch side at the top of the scoreboard and score 1/4 inch at both ends. Turn the paper clockwise and score 1/4 inch at the left or bottom of that piece. Fold at the score lines and trim the corners. Using a ruler and a pencil, mark the center between the score lines at 2 3/16 inches and 2 inches from the top. Once you have the center mark, use your ruler to check that it is 2 inches from the top. Erase the other mark if there is one. Then take the ruler and put the edge on the corner about 1/8 of an inch in down to the center mark. We don't want it right on the corner because we will be adding paper on top. Make a line with your pencil and do this for both sides. Then take the smaller patterned piece of paper that was cut to 4 1/4 inches wide by 4 3/8 inches in length. Mark the center of the 4 1/4 width at 2 1/8 inch. Once you make the center mark, use the ruler to finalize the mark at 2 1/16 of an inch from the top. Then you can mark lines from the actual corners to the center mark. I use the paper trimmer to cut on these lines so they are very straight, but you can use scissors. If you use the trimmer, be very careful and cut slowly to not cut past the center mark. Use scissors to make additional cuts if necessary and erase any pencil lines that were left behind. Use the corner rounder and round the bottom outside corner of both pieces. Adhere the smaller patterned piece of paper to the center of the larger piece, making sure to leave approximately a 1/16 inch margin all around. Use 1/4 inch score tape on all of the outside scored edges. Trim the excess and use your bone folder to burnish them before adhering to the page. There will be a 1/16 inch margin around the pocket here as well. To make the tag, take the solid piece of paper that was cut to 4 1/4 inches wide by 7 inches in length. Snip off one corner at the top and use that as a guide to snip off the other side. This gives you your tag shape. We will be putting a flip at the bottom of the tag using 2 joined 4x4 journal cards. Cut out 2 vertical direction journal cards together and then score them in half at the 4-inch mark. Once scored and folded, you may have to trim a bit off the bottom to be even. This may make your cards not exactly 4x4, so be sure to always measure. For the inside of this flip, cut 2 coordinating pieces of paper. Mine were cut to 3 7/8 inches wide by 3 13/16 inches in length. You may need to make some adjustments to fit the inside of your flip. Mine also have a 1/16 inch margin all the way around once they are adhered. Go ahead and adhere these to the inside of the flip, and then place adhesive on the back side of the flip and adhere it to the tag. Measure for the top portion of the tag and cut a piece of paper to approximately 4 inches wide by 2 7/8 inches in length. Once you have the size you want, lay the piece of paper on the tag and keeping it secure, flip the whole tag over and mark the overhang areas with pencil. Use your paper trimmer to cut in 1/16 of an inch from these pencil lines and then adhere this piece of paper to the tag. The other side of the tag will be a bit easier. Cut a decorative piece of paper to 4 inches wide by 6 7/8 inches in length. Holding it in place on the tag where you want it, flip the whole tag over and mark the overhang areas with a pencil. Again, use a paper trimmer to cut in 1/16 inch from these pencil marks and then adhere it to the back of the tag. Using a mini eyelet and a crocodile, make a small hole at the top of the tag, insert your eyelet and flatten it with the crocodile. I thread a piece of ribbon through the eyelet and then trim it. I will secure that ribbon with a small bit of hot glue. Next, we need to make the full-length pocket for the right inside cover. Take the piece of paper that was cut to 4 1/2 inches wide by 8 1/4 inches in length and place the long side at the top of a scoreboard. Score 1/4 inch at each end and then turn the paper clockwise and score the left side at 1/4 inch. Trim the corners and then fold the top and bottom score marks and round the top and bottom corners to match the cover. Also, take the coordinating decorative piece of paper that was cut to 4 1/8 inches wide by 7 5/8 inches in length and round the top and bottom corners as well. To cut the inverted tab into these papers, we will be using the We Are Memory Keepers envelope punch board. Take the larger piece of paper and place the edge of the paper without a score mark into the punch board. Using the folded edge as your guide and not the unfolded edge, place it at the 1 1/4 inch mark and punch. Then move the paper to the 2 1/2 inch mark and punch again. To cut off the centerpiece that is left, use your paper trimmer very carefully. Place the tab on your cut line and place the blade in one of the open areas and then carefully cut the centerpiece off. Take the decorative piece of paper and place the matching edge into the punch board and line up at the 1 inch mark and punch. Move the paper to the 2 1/4 inch mark and punch again. Again, carefully trim off the center piece of paper that is left. Adhere the decorative piece of paper to the top of the larger piece, leaving approximately 1/16 of an inch margin around the main area. Place 1/4 inch score tape on the scored edges and trim any excess. Burnish them with a bone folder before adhering to the page, making sure the top, bottom, and outside edges are even with the cover. For the inside card for this pocket, cut a piece of paper to 4 inches wide by 7 1/2 inches in length. This time we will be doing a horizontal flip at the top of this card. Cut 2 joined horizontal 4x4 cards and score in half at 4 inches. Trim any excess if needed. Cut another piece of paper for the bottom to approximately 3 3/8 inches wide by 3 7/8 inches in length. Be sure to measure your space to be accurate. Once adhered, there should be about 1/16 of an inch margin all around. For the back side, we will cut 2 pieces of paper that are 3 7/8 inches wide by 3 1/2 inches in length. Once adhered to the card, there will be a 1/16 of an inch margin at the sides, top, and bottom, with a larger area between the two for an embellishment. Go ahead and adhere all pieces. For the inside of the flip, I cut 2 pieces of paper approximately 3 7/8 inches square. Again, measure the inside of your area to be accurate, especially if you trimmed any excess to even up the edges. Now I get to threading my closure ribbon through the eyelets. This step again should have been done before placing the pockets, but I got ahead of myself and just forgot it. Take a length of ribbon or twine and cut it in half so you have 2 pieces that are around 8 to 10 inches in length, depending on how big you like your bow. Thread from the outside of the cover to the inside. You can tie a knot, but I'm going to keep my ribbon ends flat and secure them with hot glue. I will do that now and then show you the end result. So you can see I used hot glue to secure both ends of my ribbon and they are hidden by the pockets. Remember, this is easier if you do it before putting the pockets on. For the notebook in the back center pocket, you will need the piece of paper that was cut to 9 inches wide by 6 1/4 inches in length. For the pages inside, I used notebook paper. Cut off the whole side of the paper to 1/4 inch away from the holes. I used the 2 bottom existing holes of the notebook paper and cut it so those holes are fairly centered. Cut the notebook paper to 4 inches wide by 6 inches in length. Cut multiple pieces at once so they are more even. Once all of the notebook paper is cut, set it to the side, and then take your patterned paper and place the long side at the top of the scoreboard. We're going to score in half at 4.5 inches. Then using a piece of notebook paper as a guide, place it on the folded pattern paper cover about 1/8 of an inch from the edge and mark the holes with a pencil. Then use a standard paper hole punch and punch the holes. I use twine to secure mine all together, and I have a decorative piece from the bits and pieces that I will make into a tag for the front cover, using a small hole punch. Cut 2 lengths of twine to tie the notebook together. Even up all of the notebook paper and place it inside the cover, lining up all of the holes. Take a length of twine and double it up, and then thread it through the holes twice before tying securely with knots. Make sure to add the tag to the top hole before tying any knots. Trim off any excess, and there is your notebook. Place it in the pocket and set that outside cover aside so we can work on the inside. The inside portion will be one continuous piece cut from one 12 by 12 piece of paper. We will be cutting 2 pieces and attaching them together. We will be covering up the part where they attach. The first piece will be cut to 7.5 inches by 12 inches. The second piece will be cut to 2 5/8 inches wide by 7.5 inches in length. These will be attached with a 1 1/4 inch overlap. Apply adhesive to the front of the right edge of the large piece and adhesive to the back of the left edge of the small piece. Use a ruler and place the top right edge of the long piece at the 1 1/4 inch mark. Take the smaller piece and line the top left edge up on top of the larger piece at the beginning mark or edge of the ruler, and adhere together using your ruler to make sure you have the 1 1/4 inch overlap and that everything is even. Decide which side of this paper you want as the front of the inside section and lay that side up with the long edge of the top of the scoreboard. Score at 4 3/4 inches and 9 5/8 inch. Fold on the score marks. The larger fold will be on the left side of the insert and the smaller on the right side. We will be cutting 6 pieces of paper for the double photo flip at the front of this inside section. All pieces will be 3.5 inches in length. The pattern of the paper needs to run the width of the paper. It's not that big of a deal if the pattern goes the other way, as it will still be pretty. Also, when you're cutting these pieces, know that some of them will be right oriented and some will be left oriented, so cut accordingly. Again, it's not a big deal, as you will see one of mine ends up being upside down. Cut 4 of these pieces to 4 inches wide by 3.5 inches in length. Then cut the 2 remaining pieces to 3 3/4 inches wide and 3.5 inches in length. Two of the 4 inch by 3.5 inch pieces will be the bottom of the flips and will be adhered to the front section and not be scored. One on the top and one on the bottom. Take all of the other pieces of paper and place the long side at the top of the scoreboard and score at 1/4 inch. Remember, some of these will be flipping left and some right, so you may have to turn or flip your paper before scoring. Set these pieces aside to adhere later. Next, cut 2 pattern pieces of paper to 4 5/8 inches wide by 3.5 inches in length. Then cut 2 coordinating pieces to top those to 4 3/8 inches wide by 3 1/4 inches in length. I'm using a solid on top this time and a patterned piece on the bottom. The next piece of paper we cut is for the inside right flap, and it will be a full-length piece to cover the overlap of this portion. I will be cutting mine from a very decorative piece of paper. Cut this piece to 3 5/8 inches wide by 7.5 inches in length. Cut another piece of paper for the outside of that flap to 3.5 inches wide by 7¼ inches in length. The next two pieces of paper are for the card inside the center hidden pocket. Cut one to 4 inches wide by 3.5 inches in length, and another piece to go on top to 3¾ inches wide by 3¼ inches in length. Moving on to the double photo flips on the front of this center portion. You have 6 pieces of paper, two that are 4 inches by 3.5 inches with no score mark. These will be the bottom of the flip, one on top, one on bottom. You have 2 that are 4 inches by 3.5 inches and that are scored 1/4 inch from the edge. These will be the center flip, one for the top, one for the bottom. The smallest 2 pieces, cut to 3¾ inches by 3.5 inches and that are scored 1/4 inch from the edge, will be the top of the flip, one on top, one on bottom. Decide which 3 you want for the top and which 3 you want for the bottom. Put them in order and set aside. Start on the top flip and take the non-scored piece of paper and adhere it to the top right edge of the cover, leaving 1/8 inch margin at the right side and the top. Do the same thing with the other non-scored piece, adhering it to the bottom left edge, leaving a 1/8 inch margin at the left side and the bottom. Apply 1/4 inch score tape to all of the other scored edges. Trim any excess and burnish with a bone folder. Take the top center piece, which is 4 inches by 3.5 inches with a 1/4 inch scored edge, and place the sticky edge right next to the edge of the flat piece that is already adhered. Make sure the edges, top and bottom, are all aligned. There should be no gap between the flat piece of paper and the scored edge that you just adhered. Do the same thing with the top piece, which is 3¾ inches by 3.5 inches, making sure the sticky scored edge is pushed up against the edge of the centerpiece with no gap. You will do the exact same procedure for the bottom flip, just on the opposite side. The top flips to the left and the bottom flips to the right. Open this center section and take the patterned pieces of paper that were cut to 4 5/8 inches wide by 3.5 inches in length, along with the coordinating top pieces that were cut to 4 3/8 inches wide by 3¼ inches in length. Adhere the smaller pieces to the patterned side of the larger pieces. There are 2 pieces, one on top and one on bottom. The bottom piece of paper will be adhered completely to the center of this center section, with a 1/8 inch margin on both sides as well as at the bottom. The top piece will be the hidden pocket and will have adhesive only on the sides and bottom. It will also have a 1/8 inch margin at the sides and top. Once adhered, there will be a 1/4 inch margin between the two. Go ahead and adhere the bottom piece completely, leaving 1/8 inch margin at the sides and the bottom. For the top piece, I use 1/8 inch score tape and apply it to the sides and the bottom only. Trim any excess and burnish before adhering to the center section at the top, leaving a 1/8 inch margin at the sides and top, and making sure the opening is at the top. Then take the 2 pieces of paper for this hidden pocket card. One is 4 inches by 3.5 inches, and one is 3¾ inches by 3¼ inches. Adhere the smaller piece to one side of the larger piece. For the other side, cut a 4 by 4 journal card to 3 7/8 inches by 3 3/8 inches, making sure you cut the area you want. Adhere this to the blank side of the card. I add a tab to both sides later that can be used to pull the card out. Next, take the decorative piece of paper that is cut to 3 5/8 inches by 7 1/2 inches and adhere this to the inside of the right flap, leaving a 1/8 inch margin from the score line and making sure the top, bottom, and right edges all align. On the other side of that right flap, adhere the piece of paper that was cut to 3 1/2 inches wide by 7 1/4 inches in length, leaving a 1/8 inch margin all around. The next step is attaching the Instapocket page. First, we have to cut off the portion of the Instapocket page that has holes in it, being very careful to not cut into the sealed edge. Use a paper trimmer and cut just under the sealed edge as I have done here. Then fold the Instapocket page in half with the small pockets on top and the large on the bottom, giving it a good crease. We will put the Instapocket page and the inside section and the cover of the folio all together using standard staples. Use a paper piercer or small scissors to make the holes. All of these sections will be attached together at the left score lines. I use some removable glue dots to keep the Instapocket page from sliding around. Put all of the sections together, lining up the left score lines with the open crease in the pocket page and making sure everything is even at the top and bottom. If it's easier to see, mark the score line with a pencil. Once everything is aligned, place a ruler at the top of the pocket page. The staples are 1/2 inch in length, and we will be placing 3 of them along this crease. I use a pen to mark at 1/2 inch and 1 inch, 5 1/2 inches and 6 inches, and 3 1/2 inches and 4 inches. Then take your paper piercer and create holes, making sure you go through all of the sections. Insert a staple from the outside of the folio to the inside. I start at the center and go through one section at a time. Once I get through to the very center crease at the pocket page, I hold the staple steady with pliers and use my bone folder to push the edges of the staple down firmly. Do the same thing for the remaining 2 staples. If you have a large stapler that would work, that would be so much easier. Putting staples in this way takes a long time and can be very tedious, but it works. That is the completed folio. Now I'm going to take all of the beautiful embellishments of this collection and add them to the pages and make this even more special. You see the fully decorated and embellished folio at the beginning of this video. Thank you so much for visiting my channel and watching my tutorial. I hope it inspires you to create. See you next time.